All right. We are here for a carnivore Christmas, and we've got Jeannie, and we have Susie and me. And we're just going to talk about how to survive the holidays when eating carnivore. I know a lot of people are running into that scenario. And just we'll talk about anything else, maybe ideas for dishes to bring, maybe something carnivore friendly, just anything that we can come up with to talk about. We are here. Um, so, first of all, Jeannie, tell us about what time is it there in Aussie? What time
It's
is
a,
it in Australia?
it's 3 a.m. Jeannie went to
Three.
bed really, really early. So, but that's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're here. And
Yeah, me
Susie, how are
too.
you doing today?
I am doing great. Thank you. It's the day after my wedding anniversary, 29 years with my beloved, wonderful husband in
Wow.
marriage. And then we got together a few years prior to that. So it's actually 30 plus years. He reminded me this morning that, yeah, I had to do the other years too. But and most of those, I told him, I'm sorry you had to suffer through with me eating the vegetarian vegan stuff and me being like unpleasant with all of the digestive stuff, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Oh,
But at least we've had about almost 2 years of my carniversary. Will be roughly, it's sometime in January. It's probably like around the end of January, but next month. And it's like, so almost 2 years of much better like digestion stuff with him and I both. So yeah, but doing great. Thank you, Carrie.
oh, that's
Wow. Wow.
congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. That's awesome.
I never
So,
was a vegan or vegetarian. I could not ever totally give up meat. Just could not do it. So I'm lucky in that way, I guess. That I never went through that phase or whatever. Um, I just yeah. My best friend sort of tried to make me feel guilty about eating meat. Um,
Oh wow.
and she got me sucked into some of the myths, but I just couldn't do it. Yeah. So I didn't eat it around her, um, but yeah. So I'm so glad I haven't gone through the pain of that.
yeah, when I started researching about diet and everything, of course, that's 2015. The big recommendation, of course, was, vegetarian or veganism, and I just couldn't do it. I could not go without meat. So I
Yeah.
did eat a lot of salads and stuff, but I had meat with it. I just couldn't do that.
Mm. Yeah, I
And
never
we
felt satisfied
have
like yeah.
Karen with us this morning. Hi, Karen. Glad you're here with us.
It's a wonderful time of year to do crafting. Karen, what kind of craft projects are you working on? It'd be nice to hear what people are doing. I actually finished a couple of watercolors over the last about week and a half or so. They were exactly the same watercolor. I just drew them on two different pieces of paper in hopes of one of them coming out, and they actually both turned out really nicely. But that's sort of one of my meditative Zen things I like to do. It's I guess it's maybe not as involved as doing some of the beautiful craft projects I've seen, but still, it's a nice practice to do. Christmas balls, oh great,
Nice.
oh fun.
Nice. I have a friend who embroiders um, various things. Like one year she did like tea towels, for
Oh,
example, and gives them as gifts. So my mother used to actually embroider Christmas ornaments and give them out as Christmas presents. So I'm fortunate, she passed in 2001. So I do have some of her ornaments. But the whole point of that is that it's very nice to. I was just wondering if Karen was doing those as gifts, maybe, because it's very nice to get something personalized like that. I think, it means a lot that somebody put the time and effort into it, and it's just a good
Mm.
memento. So it'd be
Yeah, for sure.
ah. Nicole is
Hey,
popping in to say hi. All right. She's
Nicole.
getting ready for her concert. So break a
Loaded.
leg.
Break a leg, Nicole. I know you will do awesome.
Yes. And I'm looking forward to hearing about it and seeing some footage of that. So fabulous. Glad you popped in, Nicole. All right. So we are. All right. So does anybody have anything that they just want to share today? Like, can you think of a situation where that you might have been in? Or I guess first of all, what we could. Oh, and Karen, hold on. Karen is making friendship
Oh,
lights balls. Oh, nice,
goodness,
nice.
those are beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. But like, first of all, I guess we can talk about how Thanksgiving went. And I guess I'll start with that and then we'll move on to Jeannie. We'll just kind of circle around. But so I went to my daughter's on Thanksgiving. And of course, my hard and fast rule is no bread, no sugar desserts, that kind of thing. And then I decided that I was going to allow myself to have some mashed potatoes and some sweet potatoes. Well, for whatever reason, it's just really weird, but she didn't make mashed potatoes. So I doubled up on sweet potatoes. I mean, I had this big, gigantic, I don't know if you've seen the movie Friday, but it's kind of an irreverent movie about marijuana usage. And
Oh,
anyway, this particular guy, Craig, got the munchies and had this big giant bowl of cereal. And so that's when I say a Craig bowl of mashed potatoes. I mean, I'm sorry, of sweet potatoes. And oh, they were delicious and everything. But man, I felt so I don't know, man. They didn't make me sick or anything like that, but like my energy level just went down. I don't know, man. I felt like crap for a couple of days after eating it. So it's not like it made me sick or anything. And I think I would have been okay if I would have eaten a smaller portion, like if I had just been logical about it. But I was like, oh, I'll just eat,
yeah,
triple since I'm not having any mashed potatoes,
yeah, yeah.
and
I
sort of
got,
went off the rails.
yeah, yeah.
So what about you, Jeannie?
Well, we don't do Thanksgiving
Well,
here
that's true. You
in
don't do
Australia.
Thanksgiving.
We're not very grateful. No, not very thankful.
You're grateful,
No,
but
so
you're just
it
not
was just
yeah,
yeah,
you don't
we just don't
celebrate them.
celebrate it. Yeah, yeah. So it was just another ordinary day for me. So um,
Yeah.
I don't remember being naughty. So
So you haven't been naughty in the last little while in the last month. So we do have
oh,
Christmas coming up, of course, but
oh well, last night I went to dinner with some friends and we did a Secret Santa thing, and I was naughty then. I had a few drinks and some. I had steak for dinner, but then I had sticky date pudding and cream. Oh, but it didn't. But I felt fine today. A bit tired, but it was sort of a big weekend. Um,
mm,
but if I go off the rails, I don't. My energy probably goes down, but I don't like feel sick or have huge digestive issues. But you can certainly tell a difference with the energy for sure.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But today I went straight back on the wagon, eating meat again. So yeah, I don't. If I go off the rails, I don't keep going. I get straight back on it.
Sounds
So
like you were kind of intentional though about like you had this event and you knew what you were going to do. And so then it was just in your plan to do that and then to resume the next day. Is that a fair
not so much.
assessment? I mean,
Not so much the dessert. I did plan to have a couple of beers because
mhm.
it was so hot and it stormed and everything. And they had cricket playing at the club, and I love cricket, so I just sat down before my friends got there, had a couple of beers. But
Ah,
I wasn't intentionally having dessert, but when I saw the sticky date, I thought, oh, it's Christmas. So yeah, yeah.
I
But
have
yeah,
a friend, a coworker who plays cricket. Actually,
I
that
had
they
yeah,
actually do have leagues here in the States.
Oh, did they? Oh, right.
Yeah, I was not familiar. I mean, he's not a professional, but they do have like these
Yeah.
regional leagues that play. And I
Okay.
wasn't really familiar until
Mm,
he and another coworker told me about it and
mm,
showed us some footage of the games and stuff.
mm.
And it's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
And they were saying that back in the day that like cricket games could last for days. Like,
yeah,
years ago. Yeah, if you played
yeah,
it the way it was originally played, and I was like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, I thought baseball was long. You know,
yeah. No, test matches can go for 5 days tops.
yeah.
Oh my
But
goodness. Get
but
the
then you have
electrolytes.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh
But
my
then you
God.
have 1 day matches, and then recently there's 20 overs, like Big Bash they call it, and that's a really quick game. It's really exciting. Yeah, like
Hmm.
grew up on cricket as a kid, so I've always loved it. Yeah.
That's cool. All right. So, what about you, Susie?
Well, for Thanksgiving, we went to Fogo de Chao, which is our local Brazilian steakhouse, and had just tons of meat. It was fabulous. I actually tried a couple of non-carnivore things. I had like literally like two mushrooms, like the little button mushrooms, and I
Hmm.
had like a small spoonful, like just a bite of pickled red onion, just to see how things went with that, and it seemed fine. And then I came home and had they were coconut peanut butter, not peanut butter, coconut nut butter, gluten-free cookies that we made with erythritol. So they were lower carb, but I did want to have something desserty for us. And my husband is not carnivore. He's more on the meat heavy. He probably would call him like ketovore.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to have something like that, and I did not feel like baking the keto pumpkin pie that I've done in previous years, because I have to make the the crust from scratch, and it's a
Oh,
hassle.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's like gluten free. Obviously, for me, I can't do the gluten stuff anymore. But the cookies were very easy. They only took a few minutes, and I literally found this just random recipe on YouTube. I'm like, I hope this turns out, because if it doesn't, I don't have ingredients to make anything else. Unfortunately, it was a good recipe. So yeah, it was just a lot of food. It was a lot of food, and I spent the rest of the day, digesting and in kind of a little bit of a stupor. So it affected my energy levels too. But overall, it was nice. And then of course we went to the steakhouse yesterday for
oh,
another meal. Yeah, and it was a different. They had different meats. For Thanksgiving, they had a lot of lamb offerings, and the lamb was just exceptionally good. It really hit.
oh, I'll bet.
It
Mm.
was so good. It really hit the spot. And
Mm.
yesterday they had filet, which I'm not really that wild about, a filet mignon, and they had ribeye, and the ribeye was just exceptionally good. It was so nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know what we're going to do for Christmas. It's just
Oh no, Susie, are you there? Uh-oh.
She's frozen. It must be cold there.
Yes, it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
I tell you,
dear.
I first time in my life, I think I ordered my steak medium rare. I usually get medium, and it was
Mhm.
great. I'm going to keep that up. It was fantastic. Yeah.
I have a story about that. Now,
Really?
actually, before going, hey, Susie, you're back.
Welcome back.
Glad you're back. Uh, Jeannie was just talking about having her first medium rare steak and that she's going to continue eating it that way. And oh no, Susie, I think you're freezing again.
Must have internet issues.
Oh no, yeah. So, but anyway, so I can't remember exactly which birthday it was. It was a birthday in my early 20s. It wasn't my 21st, but it was in my early 20s. And we had gone to O'Charlie's, which is a restaurant chain here. I mean, it's not fine dining or anything, but it's a sit down restaurant and they're known for steaks.
Yeah.
And William says, "And gone again." So anyway, I had a couple of drinks, and of course, this is way before going carnivore or even low carb. But I used to just get my steaks like medium well. This is how I used to order them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'd had a couple of drinks, and we ordered our steaks, and then that's how I ordered mine. But for some reason, it took them a little longer to get the steaks, and I was hungry. And by the time we got our steaks, I was starving, and I'd had about 3 drinks. And I put my fork in it, and it was like medium rare. And I didn't care. I ate it anyway, and it was delicious. I was like, oh my gosh, this is how I'm eating steak forever.
Yeah. Well, I used to always, when I was
Alright.
younger, welcome back.
I
Have
don't know what's
steak.
going on. Sorry about that.
No.
Hey, things happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were just talking about preferring medium rare steak, and I was telling about when I was in my early 20s. It was way before going carnivore, but I'd had a couple of drinks, and it took them a while to get my steak to me, and they got the order wrong. And I ended up, instead of medium well, my steak was medium rare. But I was so hungry, I ate it anyway, and it was delicious. And so even way before going carnivore or low carb or anything, I always preferred them since then as medium rare. It's just, oh my gosh, it's just so much. I don't know. There's just more flavor. It's just,
Yeah. And it's tender. More
mhm.
tender. I used to always have. Yeah. I used to have it well done when I was younger, and what a waste. What was I thinking? But then I used to always think that the red stuff coming out was blood, but apparently it's not. It's protein or something, or the juice. It's not actually blood. Is that right?
Yeah, from what I understand, it's not blood, and I can't remember the term for what it is.
Yeah.
But
Which,
yeah, it's not
younger
blood.
girl.
And I used to think
Yeah.
it was blood too. I think
Me
everybody
too.
does.
Which put me off eating rare or whatever. So it's
Yeah,
interesting what you learn.
the Pittsburgh char. Yeah, as they call it here. Yeah, that's basically how I like mine. Well, very well done on the surface, but like basically, bloody rare in the.
Middle
Yeah,
there.
I like my steak really, really rare. Yeah, it's
Right.
great.
Mhm.
Ideally.
Yeah.
I can't imagine just eating raw meat. I've never really tried it.
I haven't
But
either.
I've had
because I just
rare,
doesn't.
rare beef heart and liver, and I think I tried rare, like raw kidney too. Wouldn't recommend. Like they recommend. Like the heart was it was okay rare, or not rare, raw. But
Yeah.
I don't know that I've tried steak raw. It might be all right if it's like tartare preparation where it's like minced very, very fine.
Yeah, I
I
have.
think it would be fine that way.
Yeah.
I like that char on the outside.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
But it's just, yeah. And see, when I was growing up, my mother, for lack of a better term, it's just like she had a very straightforward diet. Like there was nothing that was eccentric or uh, maybe odd or anything like that. It was very like what you'd call normal foods. Like it would be like meatloaf and mashed potatoes, or it might be chicken and some vegetable. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't spaghetti. Uh,
Yeah.
might be things like that. So there wasn't any like liver. Oh no, no liver, no. Like I knew friends growing up in the South. I mean, I knew people who ate chitlins, which is intestines,
Oh,
and
Yeah.
I've smelled them cooking before, and I don't know how they can get past the smell. But I've also heard that if it's done right, you don't have that much of a smell. So I don't know, but just I can't imagine eating chitlins. But I did in my youth. I went to a friend of mine's great aunt's house. I was, I think, 13 at the time, and she lived way out in the boonies. Like they didn't even have indoor plumbing. They had They had a well with a pump, and they had an outhouse. And this was in the 80s, like the early 1980s. And we had brains and eggs as part of breakfast. Now they had plain eggs that were by themselves, but they also had brains and eggs. And I did try those, and they were pretty good. I'm kind of surprised that I tried them, but I guess maybe sometimes when you're young, you either are very squeamish or you're just like, yeah, I'll try it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What
I've never
kind of
had brains.
were they? Were they cow brains, pig
I think
brains?
it was pig brains. I think it's pig
Yeah,
brains.
yeah.
Yeah,
Did they tell you? Did they tell you beforehand what it
she
was?
did. Yeah,
Oh,
it,
interesting.
yeah,
That was adventurous, Carrie. Wow.
yeah. I can't believe that I tried them, but I did. But she did make a distinction, and honestly, they didn't really look that much different. Like the bowls, the one that had just the plain eggs, scrambled eggs versus the eggs that were mixed with the brains. I mean, there was obviously some difference, but like if you just didn't know it, you really wouldn't know what it was, or you would think maybe you would obviously know that there was something else in there, but it wasn't like it was just this
Mm.
obvious, um, like, oh, that's brains. You wouldn't
Brains, yeah.
really know it.
I mean, it's mostly fat, is it? I mean, just
Yeah.
the yeah,
Probably
yeah.
would be.
Some of the organs are very strongly flavored, and I guess some of them.
Hmm.
But pancreas that was the worst. I would
Oh
never.
God, I'll bet.
I
I
would
don't
not.
know. That just sounds
I would
bad.
not recommend
Yeah,
that.
it doesn't.
It was. It smelled funky. It tasted chemical.
Yeah.
It was just. I don't
Mm.
know what I was. I was trying in good faith to do like the nose to tail thing for a while. And
Hmm.
I had been buying a lot of bison and elk, and I thought, oh, and the heart was good. The kidney was, I tried it a couple times. It was okay once, and the other, it was not good. And it was probably some of that was how I prepared it, or I should have soaked it or done something extra with it, I think. But the pancreas was just foul. I think I fed that to the dog.
Did the dog eat it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was mixed with other. I think I ended up putting it in with some other, like meat bones, and making kind of like a stock with it. And yeah, yeah, yeah. He would not eat raw heart, like the
Really?
heart, like in cow heart. Like he would not. Yeah, he would take it and spit it out. He wouldn't eat. I'm like, it just
Wow.
doesn't taste that different. I'm like, why? But
Hmm.
I like to share what I'm having. As long as it's like carnivore clean, no spices, I'd like to share with him. So, like if I
Yeah.
make a burger patty, I'll have to make one for him, and he's small, so he gets like a quarter of a patty at a time or something, just a little extra to add into his. He gets like this dehydrated raw food with bison and lamb, and it's I think mostly meat. But I like to give him a little bit of fresh meat on top of like what he normally gets kibble wise, and so I would say he's virtually carnivore too, but I like to share because my little man. And
Yeah.
I bet he's really healthy too.
oh yeah, clean
Yeah,
bill of health. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Our Labrador, maybe it's bigger dogs, but he used to love raw heart. He'd wolf it
Oh
down,
wow.
So yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
never thought of eating it myself at all.
Yeah.
Um,
It's nice and head cheese, pig
cheese,
brains.
pig
Oh,
brains.
head cheese.
Head cheese, pig brains. Good.
I don't know that I've tried head cheese. I mean, that's a mix of different organs, right? Is it, or is it just mainly someone needs to educate me on like what is it, just like the meat off of the pig head and the brains together, or is
Yeah, I
it
don't
kind of
know.
like a
Yeah,
scrapple?
I'm not
Kind of like a
sure.
scrapple, isn't it? Like you pan fry it.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what exactly like if head cheese equals pig brains or if there's a mixture of ingredients that makes up head cheese and pig brains is a part of it. I'm not sure. But
Yeah,
maybe
no idea.
William can Mama Cracker is here.
Hello.
Hey, good to see you. Glad you're here. Glad you're here.
I used to
All
have
right.
steak and kidney as a kid. Kidneys, I used to like it back then. Kidney's pretty strong, but I didn't mind it. But I'm not sure how I'd go with it now. I'm
I'm
Yeah,
glad.
that
I'm like if people said for the optimal carnivore diet you have to eat organs, I'd be in a bit of strife because I don't fancy them. So I'm glad we don't have to, you know.
Yeah,
That's good.
I'm not sure how, if that is based on the individual and your nutritional state when you start carnivore and how depleted you are. You know,
Mm,
whether it's better if you're first starting, you're coming off of like a vegan diet and you haven't had sufficient, you know, B12 or other vitamins, and
yeah.
maybe eating organ meat would be beneficial. I very much go with like, what am I craving? If I start to crave liver, I will get usually some little like, it's like a, it's kind of like a clean beef jerky that has liver blended. It's like half meat, half liver,
Right.
and
Yeah.
just a few bites of those. And usually, then the craving goes away, and I'm good. But
Mm,
um,
mm,
if I'm eating sardines regularly, excuse me, I don't really feel like I get the cravings as much for liver.
Hmm.
And I think sardines are, they're just such a nutritional powerhouse, especially if you get them like packed in water with the little bones. And that's
Yep.
like, that's a almost head to toe. There's no head, but almost head to
Yeah.
toe. But you
yeah.
get all the, you do get like a traces of like organ meat, I guess, with the little fish, you know, and
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
it's great. Oh, Carrie, now you like yours with hot sauce, right?
I
Yeah.
do. I
Makes me
do.
okay.
I've heard Dr. Barry say he eats his with mustard,
Mhm.
but I've never tried it with mustard. But I love I like hot sauce, and I just thought, and now the very first time I tried them, and I actually filmed it. I think it was like the first video other than my introduction that I ever did. It's either the first or the second, but I just tried them plain, and I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I mean, I just reached into the tin and just pulled it out with my fingers and ate it that way. I mean, so you could just see the chunk and the tail and all just a flopping, you know. But and of course, the expression on my face. I mean, my grandson thought it was hilarious because the expression on my face when I looked in that tin. Because, like I said, growing up, we didn't eat anything like that. Now, my dad loved seafood, and he liked different types of things like liver and sardines and stuff, but my mother didn't, and so she didn't cook it. So if we ever had anything, which my dad wasn't much of a cook, so I mean, it was very rare that we had anything like that. So yeah, so looking in that tin, and it looked, you know, it just kind of was, I guess, kind of surprising. It just looked kind of gross to me. But then once I ate them, they really did. They taste stronger than tuna, but um, they're not gross, and they're really not as fishy as you would think they would be. You
Mm-mm.
know, like in relation to the smell. At least to me, they aren't. But then I got to thinking after I had tried them. Well, I got the idea of trying hot sauce with cod livers because I did try cod liver too, and I mean, I can tolerate them enough to eat them once a week, but I don't really like love them or like them like I do sardines. I eat just about a can of sardines a day.
Right.
Just about every day I'll eat a can of sardines.
Mm,
So I've got a big giant jug of hot sauce that I just replenish into a smaller bottle because I go through so much of it.
yeah. Yeah.
But it's delicious that way. But I use the hot sauce on the cod livers too.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I don't. I got the idea of using the hot sauce, and then I was just like, "Oh wow, this is amazing! This is a great combination." So then I did a little short video about that too. But
Mm,
it's
mm,
just amazing how you can add just a little bit of something. So I thought maybe the hot sauce would. I mean, the hot sauce makes the cod livers a little bit better. I think what my problem with cod livers though is the texture. They're kind of slimy.
yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have not tried them. Jeannie, have you
No,
tried?
me neither. No, no. I actually had a tin of sardines, a whole tin, a few weeks ago, and it upset my tummy no end. And I thought, oh, this is weird.
Oh,
So
Oh
next
wow.
time I might try to mix them with scrambled eggs and not have a whole tin.
Yeah.
So that sort of surprised me.
Did they just talk back to you, or did you have like?
Well, I just felt like sick in the tummy.
Mm.
Mm,
And I've had them before, and they haven't affected me
yeah.
like that. So maybe it was an overdose, too many of them at once, perhaps.
Mm,
I don't know. But
yeah.
and they were in water too, not oil. So don't know.
That's weird. Yeah. Sometimes I will, if I eat them on the days I'm doing a lot of exercise, I will. They'll talk to me later. So
Yeah.
I don't eat sardines on the same day I do Zumba or like a heavyweight training or
Mm,
anything like that. I do notice like,
yeah.
but mine are usually I usually get the ones that are packed in water, but
Yeah.
it's hard to say. I always put like the German mustard, which is there's no sugar. It's mustard and horseradish together,
Okay.
and maybe it's that. I don't know, but I actually had to have someone help me since I'm such a short girl. Get get sardines off the shelf for me today at the
Yeah. Yeah.
store. I'm like looking
Yeah.
around, I'm like, there's like nowhere to put. I can't climb on the shelf because there's like full of glass jars. I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I'm gonna cause some major damage here. So
Yeah. No, don't do that. Don't do
someone
that.
tall to help me. It's like, so Nicole, short girl life. I understand.
Yeah. Well, I'm 5'4", but Nicole's shorter than that, I think.
I'm only a little bit taller than Nicole. I'm like almost 5'1". I round up. I just say 5'1".
Oh,
There
okay.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, William was clarifying a little bit about the head cheese and says otherwise known as Scrapple, or there is a German version called Ponhaus. Not sure of the spelling, but Ponhaus is brain and
Mm,
oats.
yeah,
Right.
Scrapple.
Okay, okay.
I've
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
grain-free Scrapple before, and it was pretty good. I made I think it was in conjunction with making bone broth. I had a pork hock that I cooked and had leftover, pork hock meat, and I took that and the skin and cut it up real fine. And I think I mixed it with some other types of like scraps of meat and made like a little. It didn't hold together terribly well because I think the when you add the oats or whatever flour grain binder, I think it makes a bit better of a patty that you can or like I don't want to call it a sausage, but you can slice it into
Mhm.
patties and then fry it. But I
Mm.
made like a carnivore version of Scrapple, and I'll have to do that again because that was actually very convenient to have. It's tasty. I could share with the dog, and yeah, it's pretty good. But pork hocks are like dirt cheap. They're dirt cheap, and they make excellent bone broth. If folks can eat pork, if that's acceptable on your diet, you want to make bone broth. Throw a pork hock in with your marrow bones or what are your scrap bones, and cook that for 12, 14 hours or so, and makes really, really good flavorful. You'll get a lot of fat rendered off of that when you let the broth cool. You'll get like
Mhm.
Mm.
you'll get like a sizable, but you can use that if you want to for cooking,
Mhm.
and so you
Yeah.
can,
Awesome.
yeah. So it's like but for the amount of money you pay for get a fresh pork hock. Don't get one that's already been smoked and cooked because it's likely they've used sugar and other crap
Yeah.
Yeah.
to prepare it.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
William, I order cod liver off of Amazon. I couldn't find it in the store either. Um, I have not tried any place like Whole Foods, but I tried Publix, Kroger. These are chains in the U.S. Publix, Kroger, Dollar General Market, Aldi. I mean, I tried every grocery store in in the Nashville area, other than places like Whole Foods, which is whole paycheck. Um,
I've never
so
gone looking for them, so
So yeah, I didn't find them. I found like oysters and stuff like that, but no cod livers. So I had to order them, and I can't remember the brand name off the top of my head that I order on Amazon. But I have a video where I tell you what the brand name is, and it's a little short video, about 3 minutes of me trying the cod livers for the first time, and you can
they
see.
look. The look on
then
your
they,
face in that video cracked me up. It was funny.
yeah, it was, yeah, the look on my face for both the sardines and the cod liver,
I'm
just
terrified.
initially, it's just like, oh, it was just more like revulsion. It was just like, bleh. It's like, ew.
But
But,
actually,
like I said, I wasn't raised eating anything like that,
yeah.
whether it was cod liver or beef liver or even chicken liver. And
Mm,
it wasn't until I got married, and my ex-husband's family is a very, we say that they were here, they came to Tennessee when the boat came over, meaning, and they were, I mean, practically, they came in like the 1700s to
Mhm.
Tennessee.
mm,
So, but that very country, and so they ate all of that stuff. They ate the chitlins and
mm.
I mean, just eat all different parts, not just, they ate brains and stuff. And funny enough, though, I was brave enough to try brain. Well, for one thing, I wasn't really exposed to brains a lot with his family. His great aunt Wowie, I remember one time we went to her cabin. She lived in a cabin, and she had a pig's head in a big, huge,
Big kettle.
I guess, but yeah, just like this big pot thing with the lid on it.
Mhm.
And I remember she lifted up that lid and it smelled really good, but it was just strange seeing this whole pig's head just in that. And it was on the wood burning stove. I mean, so she was very country. And this was like in the late 80s when that happened. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
but
my father's family came from subsistence farmers, and so they had, again, like a setup where they had a well, they had the outhouse, and this was probably a little bit earlier, Carrie, than maybe what you experienced. I think by the time I was born, I don't think anybody was still living on that property, or but it was a very like close, like hand to mouth kind of subsistence lifestyle, and so they made do with everything that they had. Hello, Mike.
Hey,
hey,
Mike.
Mike,
Merry
But
Christmas.
they would do some hunting in addition to what they raised, and they would squirrel hunt.
yeah,
I actually got to see the men folk when I was a kid, like squirrel hunting and doing that kind of thing, and it was interesting. So I was exposed to people eating eating some small game. I had my uncles
mhm,
sometimes take a deer. I wasn't real impressed with venison as a kid. I thought it was kind of a little bit gamey or funky smelling, but
yeah,
I loved rabbit. Rabbit was really really good. We had rabbits for a little while and raised. We had a couple that we kept, and their offspring became food. And
uh-huh.
but it was really good. It was very good.
I've never had rabbit.
Oh, really? It's. I know people say it tastes like chicken, but it does.
Everything tastes.
Yeah, but it's very lean. So
Mhm.
I don't know if Rick is in the chat, but Rick's always suggesting fry it in lard or cook it in lard. Use extra fat if you prepare rabbit because it's very lean.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike says that they
Um,
raised rabbits and ate them. We never raised them or anything, but I mean, I had after I was an adult and got married, my ex-husband used to hunt, and so we had venison and squirrel, dove, um, rabbit, and I wasn't terribly impressed with squirrel. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was
not much
not.
there.
It's yeah, but it
Yeah.
wasn't really one of my favorites either. I mean,
And I tried.
rabbit was okay, but like you said, it's lean, and I think you really do have to be cognizant of adding a lot of fat, or you put rabbit with other things, like to make it a stew, like for example,
Mhm.
rabbit stew or something like that. And I've had it like in a stew, and it's good that way. I'm trying to think what else. I've had turtle.
Oh, turtle.
Um,
It's
yeah,
horrible.
What was
And it
what was that like, Carrie? Was it
glob,
mushy?
globs of fat, like horrible fat in my eyes. Oh, I hated it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Ugh, no.
I'm trying to, I mean, it was so long ago. It was, yeah, you're right. There was a lot of fat to it.
Mm,
And I think, oh, one thing I had that, and I think they were cooked wrong. I think the person who cooked them was a bit inebriated and didn't cook them right. But the first time I tried it was a friend of my ex-husband's made it was frog legs.
Mm.
And oh, they raved about how good we went frog gigging and everything. And so we bring these frog legs back, and I was like, okay, or frogs back. And it's like, okay, we're going to have frog legs. Well, let me tell you, it was like when I took a bite, it was like it squeaked between my teeth. Like it was just like, like just this little squeaky kind of like and I was like, ugh. I can't eat this. And so I think they were still like half raw or something because I don't think they were right.
Oh
So
no.
I
I
might,
can't imagine them
yeah,
being nice. I just can't imagine it. Yeah.
yeah. So I may try them again at some point if somebody else cooks them. I mean, I'm not going to, but if somebody does, then
Yeah. Then it comes with its own bowl. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Poor turtles are asking for it, I guess.
Yeah.
I tried quail eggs for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
They were wonderful. Oh my gosh. They were so pretty too. They were just like tiny. Oh, they were so good. I
Yeah.
made like a crepe, like a flour, like no flour crepe. So just
Mhm.
cooked them extremely thin, and then I put some sugar-free ham in it and rolled it up and made like a little crepe, and it was like herb butter.
Oh,
It was really good.
Sounds
Very
good. Yeah.
I've never had quail eggs. Dr. Berry always talks about it, and they have quail, but there's it's some kind of isn't it some kind of a miniature quail or something that it's a
Yeah, they're
specific one that he talks about, but I
they're
don't.
tiny. They're tiny, teeny tiny. Yeah, I thought, you know what? It probably would not be terribly difficult if you had a setup where you could keep them warm and protected. It probably would be pretty easy to start. If you wanted to homestead a little bit, do something like that. Start with quail. I know Dr.
Mhm.
Barry's like, even if you're in an apartment building, you can have a little section here and put your quail in, and like,
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not having.
Me.
I am not having. Which
inside.
I mean, I guess in a sense, it's like, what's the difference? But you have a cat in the house, for example, and you have a litter
Oh,
box. But
it's not gonna work.
birds, I
Yeah,
mean, if
no.
they're anything like chickens, I mean, the poop, they have to be outside. They have to be
Yeah.
out in the open. And yeah, no, no, no,
I agree.
no birds,
Yeah.
no birds.
No birds in the house.
He's gonna raise cows and quail in his bathroom.
Oh, Mike's got big plans.
Well, Mama Cracker says that quail are easier than chickens, or she's heard that they're easier. That may be because they're smaller. I don't know, but I just can't imagine. I don't know, birds, and bird poo bird poo has just this whole other level.
It's
Yeah,
chemicals.
yeah.
It's just terrible, and I can't. It's not like, I mean, I can scoop out a kitty cat's litter box. That's not a big thing, and I can even clean up if he barfs. But there's something about bird poo. I just can't do it in the house. Just ain't gonna do it, even if it's a cage or whatever. I'm just
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
They
not
belong outside.
Yeah, I agree
Uh,
for sure. Yeah.
yep. So who's got Christmas planned? Oh, I think Susie, you said you weren't really sure what you were going to do.
Not yet.
Me and Nicole make a very similar version of chili, and I don't cook much, but one thing I am good at making is chili, and I don't put beans in my chili. I have made it with beans for people who like it with beans in it, and I have eaten it with beans, but I really prefer mine without. So the last 3 years, I have had a little Christmas Eve thing, and I just make my chili. It's very informal, and I just I have some sour cream and cheese and other stuff that they can put in it if they want to. And my son and his wife will come, and my daughter and my grandson and my dad, and anybody else really who wants to. It's just a little informal thing, and we'll open presents and stuff. And then I go to my daughter's house then on Christmas Day. She cooks. And so I don't know if she's going to make mashed potatoes this year. I've requested them. I think they may be a little less hard on me than the sweet potatoes. So I don't know. I mean, she does. I mean, we're not talking about mashed potatoes from a box. I mean, we're talking about like you really mash up the potatoes. I mean, they're like homemade good mashed potatoes. So hopefully she will make them. So what about you, Jeannie? What kind of plans do you have for Christmas?
Well, I might even be having it by myself. I don't know. I've got 3 brothers, but we're sort of not that close anymore for various reasons. So I'm not even sure if I'm going to see them. And like I don't have kids, and the extended family are spread out now, and my parents aren't alive. So, but you know what? I'd be just as happy to just stay at home, do my jigsaw.
Oh man, do you have a fireplace?
No.
Oh well, you wouldn't want to anyway because you're in Australia. It's hot now.
That's right.
Yeah, it's hot now. Like for me, man, I understand how it is because like there's been times when my kids were traveling elsewhere, and my parents, well, just long story, but you know how it goes. And so, and of course I was divorced and by myself, and shoot, I built a fire in my fireplace, and I was like, I can watch whatever I want on TV. I can do whatever I want. And so that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Christmas. Yeah.
Now,
so are you working on a puzzle right now? Is this like are you going to start?
No. Yeah, a new one. A friend of mine sent me a puzzle of flat Earth as a joke.
That's awesome.
And a lot of it is just black. So it's going to be. I'm going to rip my hair out, but it will be interesting. Yeah. So I'm going to do that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's too much.
Yeah.
But that's brilliant, though. Flat Earth.
Yeah.
That's
some people. It's amazing. Some people are adamant that the Earth is flat.
They are.
It's yeah. Not that I trust NASA or the pictures they send out or anything. I'm cynical about everything these days, but no. To me, it's like, well, if the Earth's flat, surely you could walk off the edge of it. What if you walk far enough. So how does that work? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if it's flat, I just don't.
Yeah, I know.
I don't understand because it's like they thought, back before they explored and found the Americas, they were warning, no, the Earth is flat. You're going to just sail off the edge.
That's right. Yeah.
So if it's flat, I mean, it stands to reason that eventually you would just like fall off.
There would be an end somewhere, and someone would have fallen off by now.
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah, but the whole even it being a globe or whatever, the whole what keeps it together, even like gravity or the pull of the sun, it all fascinates me because it's got to be some freaking heavy gravity thing going on. Like, what's stopping us from just dropping through space? The whole thing just really fascinates me.
I've kind of wondered that myself. That's a scary thought when you think about it, that if it stopped working, you would just like go out into the universe, into the ether, you would just be, and there would be nothing you could do to stay grounded or to stay put.
Yeah. I think about these things all the time.
Science fiction nightmares, thinking about that. Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were actually ancient Greek, I don't know if you would call them scientists per se, philosophers or people that were
Yeah.
interested in the physics, how things
Mhm.
were uh, structured in the universe. And
Mm.
there were, tests that they did that they came very close to actually calculating like the size of the earth and the and it's not a perfect globe, it's not a perfect circle, it's like kind of a little bit like warped on in the middle because of
Mhm.
the gravitational pull. But I was listening recently to some interesting theory on the poles and how the magnetic poles of the earth work, and how the earth can kind of do this little wobble thing. And that's why
Mm.
if you study astrology, and you can also get into the astronomy of what's going on with the earth, and how we perceive space from our vantage point here on the earth, and how in Western astrology, the sign of Aries, which is a 30-degree segment of the sky, and how that's associated with the equinoxes, and then you have the solstices, and it gets into some really interesting things. So I practice astrology, and one of the things I like to do is continuously like go back and refresh my astronomy, because
Mhm.
it explains like why we divide the skies in the way we do when we're doing the astrological charts, and why the directions are flipped. If you look at your astrology chart, in the circle you have the east and west are reversed, north and south, and it's very interesting. But there's a lot you can learn. Just if you're interested in astrology, you can check out why things are
Mm.
the way they are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm interested
Fascinating.
in astrology. I always have been. I think that there is something to it. I also think
Yeah.
the stars impel, not compel. So, in other words,
Oh,
just because the stars say a certain thing or just whatever, that doesn't mean how it's got to be. But I do, like, for example, I'm a Pisces, and oh my gosh, I am like a stereotypical Pisces, you know,
Mm.
um, just ruminates and worries over everything, or typically. And I still think, even though I'm carnivore and that's like my anxiety is gone and all of that, but I still think I'm more um of a planner, maybe, than many people. But then you also have this sense about things, like I can sense things about people and just about situations. Like, and it's weird because if I ignore that, then in retrospect, I'm like, dang it.
you knew
Like,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I knew. Why did I ignore that? I knew I shouldn't have left the house at this time. I should have waited. Like one time that happened, and I had a fender bender, and
Oh,
I had thought, well, I'll just wait and go after work. And then I thought, no, I'm just going to go ahead and go at lunch now. But my first instinct was to wait,
Mm. Mm.
and I ended up having a fender bender. So it's just things like that. So
yeah.
it's
That's the
funny though
intuition.
how the
Yeah.
That's the
I
yeah.
think,
intuition kicking in. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the universe speaks to us. I think astrology
Yeah.
is, I think of it as like a language, and it's one way we can understand and have that communication with, that divine aspect of the universe that's sort of beyond ultimately beyond our comprehension with human
Mhm.
brains. But it's one way
Mm.
we can start to understand things in context of our human life. And I like to look at it in terms of mainly personality. I come from a humanistic perspective. I'm not looking to do predictions or anything like that,
Yeah.
because I would rather not know like the future, what would happen. I'd rather just have a natural response to things and learn and grow, as we're intended to do. I don't think prediction really, in the long run, really helps us, unless it's like something just really significant, like life, truly life changing decisions. But I think we should let our inner self, our spiritual sense, like guide us ultimately with that. But astrology is just one way to understand yourself, I feel like.
Mhm.
But we can apply
Yeah.
that through any kind of like self development exercise we do. We've become conscious about our diets here. We have, we're carnivores, low carb. We're learning to listen to our bodies and how we respond to food. we're going on trust and faith in our body's natural intelligence to guide us
Mhm.
with our eating patterns. That's one way we do it through art, when we express ourselves, and it's just one of the things that's interesting with the carnivore diet is just like, I feel like it's very supportive of me as a person growing and developing. Tarot, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I read as well.
I used to have
Okay.
a
I
tarot
like
YouTube
watching the
channel.
tarot readers too.
I used to have a channel, but it didn't take off, and I got a full-time job, so I quit it. But yeah, I've read tarot for years.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness, Jeannie, that's
Yeah,
fabulous. Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
When I was a teenager, we had my mother loved going to antique shops, and I was about 13, and for whatever reason, I bought this box of tarot cards. I have no idea. I'm going to have to dig those out. I was looking for something else and I ran across them. So those things have to be like 45 years old. I mean, they're already old, but they were in this antique shop. And
Mm,
they couldn't have cost that much because, quite frankly, we didn't have, a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of when I was growing up. So they couldn't have been very expensive.
yeah. I
But
love that.
I was just kind of fascinated with tarot, and I never really learned to do tarot readings or anything. But I
Yeah,
like watching the readers, and I like
yeah,
seeing the different interpretations of the cards. Like some people read reverse and others don't, and things like
yeah,
that. And they can tie in elements of a card with another
yeah,
card, and
yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah, it
It is.
becomes like a
They're
story that
incredible.
you can read. Yeah.
Yeah,
But one
yeah.
one thing you can do, Carrie, even if you're not interested in doing predictive readings, you could do readings where you can just look at like a very simple like 3 card spread, like past, current time and where energy could be progressing, like future. You can do things like that, or you can go card by card, like a card a day, and meditate on them. I do a lot of meditative practice with the tarot cards, so it's less about reading for other people or reading for myself. When you're
Mhm.
doing that kind of a practice, you're really getting yourself into the energy of the card and learning, and you pick up all these nuanced things about the symbolism. And I've got a lot of books and things like that, but it's you may find that you work better with some decks, or the energy is a little bit more conducive. The imagery appeals to you.
Mhm.
So I know people get strong preferences with the decks that they have. I've been gifted decks that I had very little resonance with, and I have another deck that I use the Druidcraft Tarot a lot. And with my Scots Irish ends, I feel like there's an ancestral thing with a lot of the energy
Oh,
for me that like is a real strong pull. But yeah, it's a fascinating thing. It's something anybody is interested in doing. I would suggest you make sure you have a good, solid spiritual practice, and you're practicing spiritual, psychic self defense as well. Be very grounded and
Mm,
be careful how much you engage with that energy. And you may not be ready, or you may be ready, and when you start working with things like that, you might find karmically things speed up for you. I've seen that happen a lot of times.
hmm.
So it's just a word of, not to scare anybody, but it is something I've observed. And sometimes I will put the tarot away for a while until I start having dreams about it again, and that's a signal for me to start re-engaging with my tarot practice. So I go in ebbs and flows. My main practice is with astrology, but I wait until my mind tells me, hey, go back to your deck and go back to reading and that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
that's cool. So, Jeannie, you say that you had that as a business, or that you had done that for a while for a living?
Yeah, I left my government job and started my channel. And oh look, I probably, because it takes ages to make money on YouTube, but I was doing readings for other people. But in the end, I got to the point where I didn't want to take responsibility for other people. Like people would be asking me, oh, like this guy in particular, will my ex contact me and he'd get a reading every couple of weeks or something, and I just couldn't see it happening, and I felt so bad because he was obviously heartbroken, and just things like
Yeah.
that. Oh, I just don't want to do this. And then I got a full-time job again, and I thought, oh, I can't do the YouTube thing either, so I just left it. I still do readings for myself, but I just, yeah, didn't want to take on board other people's. And then one other guy got pissed off with me because I didn't tell him what he wanted to hear. And I said, well, I'm not seeing it, mate. So I can't tell you, I'm not going to lie to you. And I thought, nah,
Right.
I'm giving this away.
A
So,
lot of the ones that I've watched, in particular, I watched this guy on YouTube who does Minnow Pond Tarot.
oh, he's the best. Yeah, he's
He
great.
is awesome. I love it, Chris, and
Yeah.
he's great. And he just basically says you have to do the work yourself if you want to
Yeah.
accomplish. These are the things that could happen, and these are things that you can focus on to get the results you want. But he just makes no bones about it. I'm not predicting anything. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying this can't happen. What I'm saying is that these are things to look out for, and if you do the work and focus on these areas, it can be beneficial for you. I mean, I love his no nonsense way.
You
Yeah,
know,
he's great.
And
He's great like that.
and that's
Except one.
true. That's true regardless of what kind of practice you're doing, isn't it?
Mhm.
You know, if you want to see transformation, you've got to put in the work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
but
thing
that's
I
true.
never, yeah. One thing I never agree with him though is he said you can love is available anytime. You can walk into a room full of people and somebody there will go out with you. And I disagree with that. It's like, no, I don't agree. I don't think love is easy to find or it's, you know, that's one thing I do disagree with him on. But,
Yeah,
you know,
I've never really heard him put it that way, but I've been watching him maybe close to a year.
mm,
Um, I yeah, I don't necessarily. I think that there are some people who like they'll meet their quote unquote soulmate, like it's an instant connection, and they have a this. And I've seen it with in real life with other people, not with myself. And I don't see it with a
mm,
lot of people, but I have seen it
yeah,
happen where it's just they just have this connection, and they just, or they knew each other. Like I know somebody who they knew each other from the time they were like in elementary school. And
mm,
just for whatever, they truly did just like grow up together. They were best friends, and then they ended up, it was love. So I think it maybe in that sense you could have like a soulmate, but I also don't think that everybody just has one soulmate. So like I think that you could, depending on when you meet the person, you could, be with this person, but then if something happened to them, then in other words, that's not it. But anyway, it's an
yeah,
interesting thing. It's an interesting
mm,
thing. Um,
mm,
but I guess we're all unconventional anyway because we're carnivore. So we
oh, yeah,
are not your typical. Uh, we fall outside the
mm.
norm, and I'm
Well,
glad. I
yeah,
don't.
Yeah. And it's wonderful to find one another in light,
yeah,
in
yeah,
similar souls.
yeah.
It's a real blessing. It really is.
Well, I'm very
Yeah.
unconventional in lots of ways. My chance of finding a partner is getting smaller by the second um, because of just who I am now. It's like it's going to be very hard to find someone. But anyway, um, that's life. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I don't know. I haven't closed my. I haven't said. I don't say I'm not ever going to like date or find anybody again. But quite honestly, if I ever do, I mean, I'm going to seriously have to do like a background check on them. They can't have debt. I mean, I've got
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
conditions that,
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I
I'm
think
not supporting um, somebody else. We'll just put it that way. I'll work as a team with
mm,
somebody, and I mean, I'll work, you know, we can together pull the cart, so to speak. But I mean, I'm not dragging somebody behind me. Um, I had
no,
dated after I got divorced. I guess it was about 2 or 3 years after. And this person initially had seemed to be a very um, good person, and he was charming. And I soon, it didn't take too long to find out that the person basically was wanting like a sugar mama, and
yeah,
that's not happening here. So I have a funny feeling that I don't know, there might be, and maybe I just sound like a witch, with a B. Um,
no,
I
no, not
just
at
am
all.
not. I just
No.
am not. I've got just so many. It's like, no, you got debt. Too bad. Nope. Because I mean, I've worked to save for retirement. I've worked to pay off debt. I worked for what I have, and it's not like a ton, but I've
Mm,
really put a lot of time into it, and I don't want my kids to ever feel like I'm a burden. So I don't want them to have to worry like I did with my dad, like what am I going to do, with his health? Well, his health is good. My mother's was not, but he had like the retirement community that he lived in. They were not serving that population anymore, and so we had to look into making other arrangements for him.
mm,
His funds are very limited.
yeah,
So I don't want my kids to ever have that kind of worry. So that's why I just busted my butt to pay off debt, to pay off my house, to do all of that stuff, just, partly to sleep better at night.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so the whole thing is, I guess, to circle back around, no, some guy isn't going to be like worming his way in and living here.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with being discerning. You
yeah.
have to be discerning. Like, I, for some reason, seem to attract narcissistic types. And I'm still obviously learning some lesson that I haven't learned yet because it keeps happening. So I've got to get off that wagon. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
you have to be discerning. Otherwise, you're just settling. And that's not a good thing. So,
I was very fortunate. I literally had, saw Chris across the crowded room thing, and
advice.
I recognized him immediately. I'd never met him before, but I recognized him immediately.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So I've been very blessed in that way. I've had a lot of challenges in other realms of my life. I've gone through eating disorder and poverty and a lot of
mm,
stuff, but I've been at least I've not been lucky in a lot of ways, but I was lucky in love. So I'm very,
mm,
very grateful for that. Yeah.
mm, yeah.
Well, all right. We've been at it for a little over an hour. And I want to be cognizant of people's time. Jeannie might want to lay back down for a little while. And the sun's probably not even up yet.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
no.
So Jeannie,
Yeah,
did you stay up until 3 or
no, no. I
oh,
just went to bed really early. But after this, I probably will go back for a kip. But
there
and
you
then
go.
I'm working from home today, so that's good.
Oh,
Um,
it's
Oh,
already
that's,
it's
I
future
don't know.
Monday already, right? Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God.
I don't have to go
oh,
into
yeah.
the
Jeannie's in the
next.
future.
Future Jeannie.
Yes, yes, okay.
Yes. So, how's the future? How's tomorrow?
It's it's very
Is
warm.
tomorrow a good day? Please say yes.
Well, it is Monday, but yeah.
All right. So, anybody have any parting words for our loyal viewers about the holidays? Maybe tips that you use to make it through.
Yeah, no, I just like a lot of people say, if you fall off the wagon, don't beat yourself up. As people say, we're human, we're going to mess up or fail at times, but just get right back on it and don't worry about it too much. Um, yeah, That's
Yeah,
mine.
that's the key. I think you're right. Is if you do mess up, don't let it derail your whole
Yeah,
program. Just get back up right away and just say, okay, I screwed up. But now
yeah, yeah,
I've limited it to this day or this
yeah,
meal or whatever, but I'm done now. So I'm back on track.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
if you have a regular routine where you're walking or exercising, I would recommend just keeping on your physical activity as you normally do, so you have a way to get rid of your excess stress. If the holiday, because I know the holidays can be brutal for people, just the expectations, obligations that you have socially, and also, if you've had family members that you've lost around this time of year,
Oh
or
yeah.
there's a lot that it's not always a happy holiday season for people. So do what you need to do to keep yourself on a good even keel. If you need space, just tell people, like, I can't, you know Mike's sleeping until 5.
that's
Yeah.
right.
But that's another good point. Like your sleep, try to keep your sleep
Mm,
schedule consistent. Your movement is consistent. Don't feel obliged to take leftovers home if you're going
Oh
to
yeah.
people's
mm,
houses. If they try to push food on you, and you know that it's going to not be a help for your health to have 2 or 3 days more worth of food of that kind in your house, just politely decline. And it's okay to do that, because it's not your fault if they made too much food. It's all like
mm,
carb loaded or stuff that's going to inflame you. you
yeah,
know you could take it, and if you have a way to donate it to people that are hungry, you could do that instead of bringing it home with you. But if you're worried about binge in eating, emotional eating, like temptation, that's one way you can look to just reduce the temptation, is just not have that food around you.
mm,
So I know sometimes we're early in our journeys and the cravings haven't really resolved, and it's really easy to kind of go over. So yeah, that's just one way to manage that.
yeah. So you,
Yeah. One thing that I can say and is this: if you, especially if you tend to like emotionally eat,
mm,
uh, I think that it's perfectly fine if you, especially if your some of your family is toxic or it's stressful to be around them. Feel free to just say no. I can't do it this time. Maybe we can do it in another at another time, or we can do it in another environment, maybe.
mm,
But so often, we make ourselves go through an experience that because you have this image in your mind of what Christmas or any holiday should be. And so we put up with being around people that may not be the healthiest for us to be around. And we put up with what they say, but then we internalize it. We might eat or we might even drink or just whatever it is we do to cope with it. And that's not good for us. So I mean, not that you need my permission, but I mean, I just think you might want to consider if it's a stressful situation like that, and especially if you're early in your journey, maybe just say, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I can't do it this year.
yeah. I mean, if it wasn't family, you wouldn't hang around toxic people. Family should
Mm-hmm.
be different. If they're toxic, they're toxic.
Yep.
Yep.
Why should we put ourselves in that situation? It doesn't make sense, does it? Um, so yeah, good advice. Yeah, yeah,
So Mama Cracker says never had a problem saying no. And then Mike says no one in his family is toxic until I found out it's me. Yeah. Well, that's funny because Dave Ramsey always talks about, he's a financial guy here in the States and
yeah.
gives really good advice.
Mm,
If you're looking to start budgeting or get out of debt, I really recommend you look him up. He's phenomenal. But anyway, uh, he says every family's got its crazy, and if you don't think they do, it's you. And I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, every family's got its crazy, and if you don't think yours does, it's you.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, on that note, we will say Merry Christmas to everybody out there and just keep on keeping on. I wish you all good health and happiness for the Christmas holiday and moving on into 2024. So we'll be seeing everybody soon. You all take care and have a great rest of your weekend or Monday if you're in Australia.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Thanks.